We got the biggest Assassin's Creed Shadows update since release, with many quality of life additions, a brand new quest with new targets to go after, which was quite surprising to see, a really fun new ally you can recruit, there's the nightmare difficulty that changes more than we normally see, so a ton to go over. Let's start with that new mission though, that you start over here on the map from the settlement. You can start it relatively early in the game, as you need to have Yasuke unlocked and do the Way of the Blacksmith mission. And then you find our new ally Ravino hiding in a bush. We should really improve the hideout defenses, because this is not great. Now, I don't want to spoil the mission, of course, but I do think Robbie Damon from Critical Role did a great job voicing the character he created for his one-shot. Took me around the hour to fully complete it on the nightmare difficulty, so you can probably do it faster. You, by the way, want to use tools to destroy the boxes early on. Pro tip. Although again, the targets were a nice surprise and totally in line with the ones we find in the main game. They do give extra XP and mastery points as well, which is nice, but not any gear rewards, which kinda wild. And the problem now is that we get a ton of new gear, but they are all paywalled in the Helix shop. We'll talk more about that in a future video. What we do get is a free Critical Role banner for in our hideout. But the real reward is, of course, Ravino as a combat ally. When he joins the fight, he will deal quite some damage to the target you selected. And he can also, after upgrading him, do a kidney shot that fills the target's bleed meter. And his final upgrade gives him an attack that can break the guard of blocking enemies. He's a very capable fighter. Again, I'm surprised by the amount of damage he does. He can really hold its own. And yeah, if you're using bleed yourself, it's a great synergy. After using him now for a short time, I can already say that he's the best combat ally in the game right now. And all this footage is on the nightmare difficulty, by the way. So let's go over that and way more things this update has to offer. Of course, a like on the video would really help me out. And subscribe for everything on Assassin's Creed Shadows. But first, the sponsor of this video, a brand new third-person survival horror game, Kronos: The New Dawn, from the developers of the Silent Hill 2 remake, Blooper Team. And it really feels like a combination between Dead Space and Silent Hill. It's set in an alternative history where the world ended in the 80s through an apocalyptic event called The Change. And now in the future we play a traveler who goes back to the ruins of the once human civilization to find time rifts that let you go back in time to the 80s to extract key people. And we need them in the fight against the orphans, the horror creatures that we will be fighting. They're all based on human flesh but can take on different forms. Luckily we have many weapons like pistols, shotguns, firepower, there's melee combat, and one of the strategies seems to revolve around stopping the enemies from merging so they become even stronger. Totally check the special link in the video description to wishlist the game. It's coming out in the fall of this year on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series consoles and a PC. Clicking the link and wishlisting the game would really support the channel, so thanks for that, and thanks to Blooper Team for sponsoring the video. Now let's get back into it. So yes, I now played a couple of hours on the nightmare difficulty and am surprised by how well my endgame builds are doing. One thing I really like is that they did not nerf the damage you deal, so you can still very quickly take out enemies, but the enemies themselves are way more dangerous now. So for this update video, I want to focus on the most important changes that the nightmare difficulty for combat and stealth brings, because they are separate again. And then in the future, I want to go more in depth on it after also having spent more hours with it. So the biggest changes to the combat in nightmare difficulty are the fact that perfect dodges and parries will still stagger enemies, but not put them in the vulnerable state anymore. They also made perfect parries and dodge windows way smaller, so you really have to time them correctly for them to work. So I would argue that at least when starting out, focus on the dodges and be aggressive with your own attacks. That is the way to go. Trying to parry and deflect is not smart. Blocking red glowing attacks will now also result in taking 100% of the damage instead of a reduced amount. Ronin, warrior monks and shinobis will dodge abilities 100% of the time unless you stagger them first. And overall, adrenaline regen and ability cooldowns have been slowed down, so you basically don't want to rely on abilities. And you also now only get 2 rations from the crates instead of all of them, and you also get less tools back. When turning on the nightmare difficulty in stealth, you will immediately notice that guaranteed assassinations are not possible anymore, and nowadays base assassinations are reduced from 2 chunks to 1. But the biggest thing you will notice is that enemies, when they are below below the 15 meters away from you will almost instantly detect you. You also create way more sound when moving fast, and when in the shadows you can now also be spotted when you move around. So far the combat changes are pretty manageable, but stealth is insanely tough. Of course, let me know what you think of the nightmare difficulty in the comments down below. Again, we'll likely revisit this topic after putting more hours into it. One new feature that I'm kind of disappointed by is the open world alarm system. So normally guardians of course only spawn after an enemy rings the bell in the camp. So now this should also happen outside of restricted areas, but it's still very limited. So if you attack random NPCs on the street, nothing will happen. You will of course get the notification saying, yo, stop, otherwise you will get desynced. But yeah, I just continue here and bam, I had to reload, but no guardians. So what they actually did is that if you in the open world fight soldiers and then take them out, at one point you will just become wanted and 2 guardians will spawn close to your location. So there's something happening in the background, but we have no like visual of a wanted meter or anything like in Odyssey and Mirage. They will just suddenly spawn, and I think that will get annoying. So I really hope that this is just the first iteration of this wanted system and that they expand it over time, because right now I'm not feeling it. Of course, curious to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. And there are more quality of life additions that we've been asking for since even before launch. Yes, we can now finally turn off the black and white filters when using abilities, which just looks super natural, and you can turn them off for assassinations as well. And I did not expect this, but I kinda like them there, because it does make killing that target a bit more special, so I might switch that back on. And they actually added way more things for us to tweak in the VFX menu that you find at the bottom of the interface options, and you can tweak this during combat as well. If you want a true nightmare experience, you can namely turn off the parry and special attack indicators of enemies, so you really got to read their moves. I think that's a step too far, but I like that they give the option. You can also turn off that orange glow when an enemy goes into the vulnerable state. If you don't like the white silhouette around you when you are hiding in the stalking zone like tall grass or the shadows, you can also turn that off, which does look more realistic, but it's of course helpful, especially in the shadows and in a smoke bomb, to see when enemies cannot spot you. You can also turn off that lost known position silhouette. That sure is large, but I like it, and of course many of the Assassin's Creed games have it, so I will keep that on. And you can turn off the glow that dead bodies have when they can be looted, and the fact that you see all these yellow dots when in the focus mode. But if you already spotted the loot before turning this feature off, they will remain, so good to keep that in mind. So yes, you can now go full immersive mode, but all these visual effects are of course there for a reason, so I think I will just leave them on, apart from the ability filter. But of course let me know if you will be tweaking something in the comments down below. A new feature that I will keep on is the headgear in cutscenes. Like, you have to manually toggle it in the gameplay settings, and Ubisoft notes that it may cause unexpected visual issues during some cutscenes, including clipping and animation inconsistencies, but I've not seen them so far. Like, I think it's worth it of course, because every scene looks so much better when Naue has a hood on, or with Yasuke and a face mask that also moves around when he talks. I did not hear any voice changes like in Origins and Valhalla, but of course still great that it's finally in the game. And yeah, with scenes with both characters, they will be wearing the equipment that they were wearing the last time you played with them, so good to keep that in mind. But yeah, Odyssey never got this, so great that Quebec made it work in Shadows, and just in time for the DLC that, according to rumors, is out in September. They also added new horse camera options. You can now namely zoom out a bit and also fully zoom out, and then when you ride around, you see more of the environment. You do this by holding the down button on the controller or the X key on PC for like 1 to 2 seconds. I did not know I wanted this, but it certainly is pretty nice, as of course the cinematic camera option from the previous games is not present in Shadows. Now when you enter a village or other urban environment, the camera goes back to normal without these options, so they only work when you can also run faster with your mount. There were issues with the Onryo masks, so the regular ones you can find and the legendary variant. If you namely would hide the headgear, the mask would stay on, but your hair would go back from grey to the normal black. So they actually fixed the fact that the mask goes away when you hide the headgear, but if you then like unhide it, you see the mask again, and in the inventory menu everything looks fine, but when you then go into the game, you see Naue again with the mask and black hair. So it seems impossible to then get the grey hair back. So a new issue occurred. But it is still cool that we can use this mask with the black hairstyle, I guess. If you follow the channel for a while, then you know that I could never carry Katsuhime during her ally mission. Like, the prompt would not appear, I could not pick her up, so also could not recruit her. Well, they now finally fixed it, so I can have her as an ally at the same time as we have another ally with a gun. But I guess it's still nice. They also have fixed an issue where people like the engineer on Reddit always had the notes from the Dead by Daylight mission on their screen after doing that content. It could not be removed. So if you had that issue, check back again with this patch, it should be fixed. Of course, if you noticed any secret changes that I did not mention in this video or were not mentioned in the patch notes, I think I got all the highlights from the patch notes, but we'll still leave a link to it in the video description. Let me know if you got secret changes in the comments down below. Subscribe, of course, for way more Assassin's Creed Shadows content. A like would really help me out. Thanks to Kronos and New Dawn for sponsoring the video. It makes all of this possible. So check them out, wishlist the game, find the link in the pinned comment. And I will speak to you very soon. Goodbye.